JB here. Hope everybody's doing outstanding. May 21st, 2024. Just need a second here. Just gonna do a quick pre-market rant. I'll talk really quick about the market. Some of the names I added. Well, one name I added yesterday. I wouldn't say added, but did some weekly strikes and go from there. But take a look at the SPY. I think it's 13 of the past 14 sessions to the upside since the start of May. But I think some of those candles are not accurate because one, the SP was actually in the red, but the SPY was actually green that day. But just a pretty remarkable rally. You always heard that the mantra over the last 20, 30 years, sell in May and go away. Right now, that it's been the reverse. It's been buy in May and go away. So, uh, set it on the watch list this morning. Yesterday, talked about in the rant a little bit around regards to catalysts this week. There's not much. We have the Fed minutes tomorrow at 2:30, and then we also, I think is it 2 or 2:30, and then we have Nvidia earnings after the close, which we've seen what's happened with the video over the last couple of quarters. It's become the market indicator. Back in the day, it used to be about Apple, sometimes we Google, then Amazon. Uh, and now it's Nvidia. So be interesting what they have to say. I'm sure it's going to be a mind blowing results, crazy guidance, and then is it going to be enough for the stock? Because even if there's a big beat and raise, it's sometimes people they'll sell it just because like, wow, wasn't that as big a beat as what folks have been anticipating. Dell has their technology conference in Vegas Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're announcing some releases this morning. NTNX, Nvidia. I'm sure there's going to be more headlines in regards to some collaborations and what have you with Dell this week, and then they have earnings next week. So I was looking at the Dell calls at the open, and it was sitting there as like 153, then all of a sudden it's 154, and then all of a sudden just from 154 down under 150 in a matter of 35 minutes. So I just passed. Typical, I wouldn't say typical, but it seems like a sell the news for now. But it was up at 150. Was it in the pre-market? Yeah, it was about 147 and change in the pre-market. Definitely, I wouldn't say definitely, but certainly going to continue to look for opportunities to trade Dell for some calls. VKTX, I added some weekly strikes on VKTX. Probably the last time I had weekly strikes on VKTX, the stock was $7, $8. Maybe it was 9, long time ago. Uh, so I think some of the thought process here is the premiums are expensive. So for me to try and trade VKTX for a move to 110, 120, I already have the June hundreds, which I already locked some of those in. Uh, it's kind of the risk reward there. Even if they have positive MASH data, which will be out before the end of June, maybe the stock trades 95, 100, somewhere in there. So then the premiums on the higher strikes are going to go down. So for me, I'm probably going to look to get weekly strikes over the next couple of weeks with the premise that they'll announce data one of the weeks before the Friday expiration. It's going to be positive data, and any of the losses that I have on potential, and I hope there's not going to be losses, but that's kind of the strategy. Maybe I'll do it this week, next week if there's no data. Maybe the third week it finally comes out. A big move. My calls are up, 500, 1,000% more than offset those trades. So that's kind of the thought process. I was thinking about it yesterday. I'm like, that's probably how I'm gonna look at VKTX at least in the coming weeks. And then at some point, I look for some later dated strikes. TERN finally took a turn. I wouldn't say took a turn, but the stock is actually up 5 of the past six sessions, but it's been struggling to really start to break out. The 50-day moving average 577. I think the low was 575 yesterday. Closed up 6%. At some point, that starts to break out as one of those small cap GLP-1 plays that people don't really have their eyes on. So I've talked about TERN for a while. Hopefully, it's finally finding some footing and really starts to take off. Not much here to add on Fiverr. Fiverr was barely in the green yesterday. The 200-day moving average is 2483. I don't want to see it go to 2483 today or this week. Hopefully that's it for the 200-day moving average. Head this way to $30. Really love Fiverr. My Dell chart, which I already have up there. Trying to think of some of the other. Oh, iRobot, all the way up to 11:34 in the afternoon, and some of the candles. It almost looks like someone there's maybe it's an institution, maybe it's a fund, and someone comes in and just says, I want 50,000 shares of iRobot between $11 and 11:34, and then the stock just spikes. I you know I I'll have to do more more research on possible valuations concerning its debt position, and what happened with Amazon pulling out of the offer. But I still think it trades above 15 and then possibly 20 in the coming weeks and months. So still watching that one. And then last but not least, and I apologize. I keep saying apologize, but then I keep doing my rants. But on ENVX, um I half of my rant after in the afternoon yesterday was about ENVX, and then it's the more I read, it's just the more there's more red flags. So I apologize. I hope I'm not going to spend too much time because the risk reward on the puts for EMVX, it's not, it's, they can make some money, but it's not like the stock is $100 or $80 or what have you. I, I, I mean, if it goes down to $6, I'll make some nice money on the puts, but that's, um, it's like, is it worth my time, right? So you got to manage time with the how the trade might work out. So I was reading stuff last night, doing more research. I'm not an expert in this field whatsoever, right? Similar to biotech. I'm not saying I'm not an expert in the biotech field, but I mean, you can sometimes you do research and you can say, wow, this is definitely a valuable asset or a valuable company. Um, and then just the more I look at EMVXs, the more I think, hey, the great leadership team they took on board. I mean, you can't. The chairman is a billionaire. I mean, I wish I was in his shoes, right? So I'm not trying to take shots at any of that, but like ultimately, it's not like you're selling a car, right? Your product is what matters. You can have the best salesperson and best minds on the planet, but if your product doesn't shake out, doesn't live up to snuff, it doesn't matter, right? It's all just smoke and mirrors. But uh yeah, so I again I talk about all this stuff and I'm like, even if this company executes at a high level and trades at which market value right now for a battery company that's 70% market share right now, they trade at 1 times revenues. So EMVX is $1.7 billion. So you have to say, wow, EMVX, you have to trade, you have to do $170 million, 170 batteries, 170 million batteries you have to produce this year at a at a $10 cost, and then be able to have margins on that. It's just I can go on rants for a while. I apologize, but all this stuff, it just doesn't jive with me, and that's why I get so passionate about it, because it's like, is it just me? Maybe it's just me, right? Maybe I see it and I'm like nobody else sees it, and maybe I'm wrong, right? I'm not arrogant or naive enough to think that I can't be wrong on things. I could be wrong. So that's that. Oh, last but not least, IIPR and CGC. IRPR 114.11 or so. I was looking to get out some June strikes. Continue to look for those. They were almost a double on Friday. Hopefully, I get another opportunity to lock some of those in to cover costs. Add some July strikes. CGC, great uptrend. So if you take a look at the support, it's trending in the right direction. Unfortunately, it goes all the way up to, I think it was 11.14 yesterday morning. Then all the way down under $10 in the afternoon, right before the close, before last 10-minute stick stave, close at 10:13. Really like those names in the coming days and weeks. And I think that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.